Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio. This week I am joined by Lucy Shrimpton, an award-winning entrepreneur, speaker and writer with over 26 years in business. And if you're watching this rather than listen to it, you're already going to be questioning how Lucy has so many years of experience looking so youthful. Lucy is the founder of The Sleep Nanny and Born to be Brilliant, and her work focuses on helping high-performing business owners unlock their next level of growth by changing how they operate as humans. What I find really interesting about Lucy's perspective is this. While so many conversations around success focus on doing more, scaling faster and chasing the next milestone, Lucy challenges whether we're even operating in a way that can hold more. Lucy speaks about success in a more complete way, not just revenue or recognition, but health, relationships, emotional steadiness, and the foundations that sustain growth. So this is a conversation about what happens behind the scenes of success, especially when things start to grow. Lucy, welcome to Beyond the Bio.
Hey, Sophie. It's great to be here.
So, Lucy, you challenged the idea that success is about more. What led you to see that differently?
I think it's been like bubbling away from the get-go for me since literally I went into adulthood. But having been in business a long time and having felt the pains and the strains as well as the massive celebrations and wins, you do question like, why? What's it all for? What's it about? Why am I doing this? And I think that's why it is important to get to the heart of that. Like, why am I doing this? So is success, you can see somebody that looks super successful or that makes a lot of money, but if underneath that it's cost them their marriage, it's cost them their health, it's, they're burning out left, right and center, they're not fulfilled, and waking up going, ugh, this again, if that's their life, then can you really call that success? So I think it needs to be it's a complete thing. My philosophy doesn't ignore money because that actually is a really key component and it is an important part of it. And without it, you're not in business. You just have a hobby. So it's money and these other elements. And I think it probably does root right. I didn't know this at the time, but it probably does root right back to the story of when I lost my dad as a teenager. And he was an entrepreneur and he died of lifestyle disease. And at the time, I didn't know until probably in my 40s, looking back, I'm like, he wasn't happy at that point. And I just think that that's devastating to have your life cut short. It was very sudden, unexpected, to just go, boom, gone, checked out, with so much more to still do and give and be and not be happy. And he was working so hard. He was a big dreamer. He'd had high highs. He was in a bit of a low and gone. And I just think, no, that can't be. So I not only myself am I determined to not go down that path, but I also, because I work so closely with entrepreneurial people, I see it all the time. I see the patterns. And so I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah.
What's the point here, or where are you going with this,
Yeah, that's such a powerful story and purpose. When people are coming into your world, what are they usually getting wrong about success at that point?
I think the pattern I'm seeing the most, it's the chase. It's like chase all the time. And economy is always changing, the landscape's always changing. We can guarantee that, it never just sits still, does it? And at the moment we're in massive change. But if you're constantly rolling up your sleeves and trudging and chasing, and it's exhausting. And I think that's what I see a lot of. And at every level, it doesn't matter if it's early stage business or, have scaled and grown something really, substantial. Those challenge, the problems don't go away, they just grow, to be fair, in size and volume.
I can so relate to this. So you work with high performing business owners. What have you noticed about the pressure to be visible or to be seen as successful?
It's a good question. I think people take it in different ways as well. You've got the people who don't like being seen at all anyway, and just find any kind of putting themselves out there as difficult. And then you have the ones who will happily do it. But then there's the how often am I spammy? Do people, I'm dealing with now the negative side of it. Like there's a huge amount of pressure. And you'll have the people who say what you should be doing, saying, you need to do more, you need to do this, you need to do that. So I honestly, I think it's in itself exhausting, the whole concept. I think that the best thing that we can all do is lean into our strengths and what we're good at. Develop the areas we're not as strong, so work on that or around that, like finding a way that suits you, that you know you can do consistently. And it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you're consistent. But yeah, you do need to be visible. You need your business visible to have something.
Definitely, you definitely do. Have you seen any examples where someone's external success or profile looks strong, but actually behind the scenes, it's a completely different story?
Definitely. And I've been in that position as well. Like, I think I see it all the time. Conversations I've had behind closed doors, there's a similar trend that I often see where somebody has built or grown something, whether that's the business or their personal brand, but their perceived success is a certain level, and they hit a down season, they hit a rough patch for whatever reason. They've not necessarily done anything, they're having a tougher time. But then first of all, they're afraid to tell anybody because it's like, well, I'm going to reveal something that is, going to shake things up. So they're afraid to tell anybody. They're afraid to then be honest online because what will people think, or there's an expectation of them now. So they start to then feel a bit like they're living a lie. And for some people, they'll just keep on smiling into the camera and push through. Others will go quiet and maybe take a little bit of a backseat for a bit. Depends on how you handle that kind of thing. But it's almost like a shame feeling.
Yeah.
And I think then as soon as you go into that energy, things do spiral down. And it could be business or personal. So the problems I then see are either some have been health or relationship related. I've seen that. But others have been and financial, obviously, where it's like, okay, yeah, I was making loads of money and now I'm not. And what will people think? Everyone thinks I make this much and secretly I'm struggling to pay the bills. That's not uncommon. And I think that should be, accepted and not judged. And then the other one is just miserable, like just dissatisfaction. It's like, no, all the things on paper, I'm healthy, I've got good relationships, I've got good business, I'm making the money, but I just feel flat, just feel unfulfilled. And that's the one that I think is the toughest because it doesn't have an obvious fix, there's no obvious like, oh, well, I need to go and address that issue to overcome that thing. It's just a feeling, emptiness.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Maybe a
Mm.
disconnect around purpose or there's so
Yeah.
many things, isn't there? There's so many things.
Yeah.
You talk about people not being able to hold more. What does that
Mm.
look like in real life when someone is growing their business?
So that's usually where they've been growing, they've been doing something. And the whole term of like, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
It's that. So it's like, okay, yes, in the early stages, there is more grit, resilience. Like you say yes to lots of things. You do a lot of things to get you out of the gate, right? And you build momentum and things go well. And that's okay. There's like a season for that. There's a period for that in business and in growth and getting going. There comes a point though where those things do need to shift. So your very personality traits and skills sometimes need to be flipped, or the very strength that got you something amazing is going to then become the demon that sinks your ship if you don't turn it around. So to be able to hold more often means to readdress some of those core things. And it might be where you used to say yes to everything, you then need to become more boundaried. It might be where you were leveraging your time and really, just doing a lot. Now it's time to do less and become more focused and lasered on your things and perhaps get support in other things. So it's knowing that you've got to shift certain things about how you operate, but also who you actually are, like in your identity, because that's the real shift that then allows you to, when I say hold more, literally hold more in terms of business, money, success, like capacity, all of it. If you don't adjust those things, perhaps some of the grit, determination, and hustle that got you so far will be the thing that then lets all that slip through your fingers. Because if you only know struggle and strive, you will subconsciously sabotage when a load of money comes your way. You'll be like, well, I have to be in struggle and strive. So therefore, how can I reallocate this money? How can I spend it? How can I reinvest it? Because holding it puts you in an alien place that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, I've seen that. That is so interesting. What would you say are the early signs that someone is pushing for growth or visibility in a way that then isn't sustainable?
I think it would be like the level of effort versus the, I guess, outcome or result. So if you're pushing and pushing and pushing, but nothing's really happening, that's when I would be going, this isn't sustainable, or this isn't the thing. A lot of volume is great if it's working, if it's creating momentum, if it's bringing more people into your world or whatever it is you're doing it for. If it isn't, then it's just noise. It's just and it's just exhausting. So it's like doing things like this. We both have podcasts. We produce this content. There's a lot of work involved in doing these, and it's got it. Yes, you've got to do it for a certain amount of time, and you've got to keep going even when it feels like nobody's watching. So I'm not suggesting you get instant results after a couple of months. You do have to keep going for the longer term. But it's knowing that the effort you're putting into it is sustainable long term and has purpose. It's doing something, that it's worth it.
Are there any habits or ways of working that you see in people who grow successfully without burning out?
Boundaries,
Yeah,
definitely.
boundaries.
I think it is like the most successful people I know are really well boundaried. And for anyone that's like, well, what does that mean? It can be everything from personal boundaries to business boundaries. It's not just not saying yes to everything, knowing when to say, I'm really sorry, I can't. No, that's not going to work, both in your personal life and with work. But boundaries also comes down to things like timekeeping, like, if you've got a client and going, okay, my session with this client ends at this time, I need to make sure I stick to time because those boundaries help balance your day. If we're playing catch up forever, everything becomes a mess, and then you become overwhelmed, and then you keep working into the night, and then you're exhausted. So like boundaries can be really subtle, and yeah, and at home with husbands and wives and children, and yeah, you've just got to make sure that you're holding those. That's one of the key ones anyway. But the other one is discipline, which is similar, but discipline in the non-negotiables that take care of you. So whether that's discipline to stop, take a break and have a walk, or to stop and go and have lunch not at your desk, or to move your body in some way, to exercise, or to make sure you're getting to bed at the same time every night as often as possible. If those sorts of disciplines that is like, this is a non-negotiable, this is what I have to do, that's also going to contribute no end to avoiding burnout.
Yeah, this is so interesting because I feel like I'm definitely susceptible to burnout. And something I did last year, which started as a bit of a joke, but it was serious, is I did this big thing on LinkedIn about my year of no. And I always, if I'm doing talks for audiences that are kind of starting out, I'm often talking about actually you need to say yes to everything and see where it leads. But actually then you get to a point where actually you need to learn how to say no. And I created this really scrappy, it's in the back of one of my notebooks, like a flow chart to help me say
Yeah.
no to everything. And it was like questions like, do we get paid? And do I need childcare? And like all these little flow chart things that would make pretty much every decision be a no. It was so
Amazing.
funny. And I started like logging all the stuff I'd said no to. So, and it was really funny. And someone got in touch with me and actually designed it in a beautiful format. So I've got a lovely PDF of it somewhere as well. But it was so funny. And actually what it did was it made it easier for me to say no, because I remember someone getting in touch with me and asking me to speak at an event. She said, I know you're probably going to say no to this because of your year of no. And it made it easier for me to say no to that event. So That was quite fun. And then I've been thinking a lot around sort of like health things and personal stuff. So now, I mean, this is probably a terrible week to say this as a boundary, because I've had something on every night this week, and I've got something after work tonight as well. But I am trying to only do one after work thing maximum a week, because I want to be home more and I want to be present, more in my personal life. So I've definitely been overall better at doing that and just saying blanket no to stuff. And I actually kept a list of things I'd been invited to. I did it for about 2.5 weeks, then I got bored, and it was stuff I'd said no to. And I think across 2.5 weeks, I was invited to something like 26 things, and I said yes to one of those.
Mm.
So that was helpful for me to go, no, I am sticking to this. And
Yeah.
then your point around getting out at lunchtime. One of my colleagues, Rachel, is really good at saying to me, right, come on, we're going for a walk. Like yesterday, I was just back to back meetings and Zooms and stuff. And she waited for me after one of my Zooms, and she's like, right, come on, we're just going to walk into town. So we did that. And, if I work at home, I'm not very good at working at home, because I find that I get too sucked in and I can have a whole day and I've not even left the house. But
Yeah,
I
I
joined,
do that.
yeah, it's not cool. And I joined our local David Lloyd centre last year. And now I'm like, right, I need to be really disciplined to feel like I'm getting my money's worth of going there. So I'm now looking ahead, looking at my calendar, seeing where I can pop those visits in. So I'm
Mm.
trying, but I
Mhm.
think for me, and probably for a lot of the people that you work with, it's just an ongoing battle to
Yeah.
do that.
It's not about being perfect at all. And it's not about being like, oh, yeah, I'm good at it or I'm not good at it. But just being aware, like you said, and setting those intentions. And do you know what?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll set the intention and it won't happen. The important thing is not to beat yourself up because it didn't happen. And it's to go, okay, yeah, do you know what? I really missed the mark there. I ought to have gone to bed earlier or whatever it is. I didn't. But the fact I always say, if you spot it, you've got it. So, like,
Yes,
okay, I
I
spotted
like
it.
that. Yeah.
So I'll make sure I do tomorrow. Or like you said, I've had a really busy week this week. I've been really pushing it. So, you know what? I'm going to have a couple of days off, or I'm going to take a break and go and do a thing. So it's just that awareness and knowing that it's not about it being perfect 100% of the time. It's just about giving you, like, let it, the scale is going to tip. It will. It won't always be, there's no balance. You're going to go push a bit harder and then you're going to give yourself a bit of grace as well.
I really like that. And it's having that kind of self-awareness to say, right, I
Yeah.
didn't get this quite right this week, but actually let me realign or refocus. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that. If
Mm.
someone is in a season where things are growing and all these opportunities are coming in, but it's feeling a bit overwhelming, actually, like what would you want them to keep in mind?
Oh, overwhelm is something I can relate to greatly. And I think we do when we are the kind of people who do take on a lot of things naturally. We're so susceptible to it. And overwhelm and burnout go hand in hand, right? I think if you feel that coming, I think the first thing I always do is say to myself, overwhelm is just too many unscheduled things. That's all it is. If they're scheduled and they've got a place, then you won't feel overwhelmed anymore. You only feel overwhelmed when you're like, wait, where did this fit? And how do I do this? And so take stock is the first thing. Sometimes we need to just look at what actually can be ditched and doesn't actually matter. And then we, make sense of the rest. When things feel overwhelming, what can also be taken off your shoulders? What can somebody else do? Or what can technology take over and automate for you? Or like, where can you give yourself some space, prioritize as well, and I think also values come into it, because it's very easy to feel overwhelmed by things, and things can feel heavy and we can take on a lot, but actually, does it align with your values? To give you an example, I'll always remember a time when a business friend said that she was too busy to plait her daughter's hair or something and had to just run out the door that day. And it just kind of washed over her. But that hit me like a pang in my stomach. And I was like, oh my God, I literally couldn't do that. I would be late for the thing. I would do anything because I wouldn't be able to say no. I'd be like, of course I can do that. 100% I will do that for you. Because to me, that matters more than anything. You don't, my daughter wouldn't let me near her hair anymore, but you've got to treasure the time when your kids need you or want you, because it goes so fast. So to me, I would drop everything and be like, no, I'm doing that. So that's where values come in. And if this is where we were saying before about when people start feeling that feeling, it's usually because you're out of alignment with your values. So you're operating on that hustle, overwhelm, too much, but it's never too much if it's the right stuff. Does that make sense? So the weight of the amount of stuff doesn't feel heavy if it's aligned stuff and aligned with your values. It only feels heavy and overwhelming when it's somewhere not aligned with your values. So you're not operating in full alignment of your purpose, your values, where you want to be.
That makes complete sense. It really does. Lucy, we could chat all day. You've got so much experience and great examples. It's been really, really interesting. If anyone watching or listening hasn't come across you before, where's the best place for them to find you?
I would love you to come and find me. Instagram's a good place. I am Lucy Shrimpton is my handle. Same handle on YouTube, I think, and Facebook and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm pretty much, you'll find me and come and say hi.
And we'll pop those links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with Lucy. Lucy, thanks so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.